Hi there everyone, thank you for joining me in this tutorial today. I'm going to show you quickly how to make this little hair bow. You could use it as a hair tie, you can add it to clothes as an embellishment, whatever you like. So it doesn't take long and it doesn't take too much fabric. So I'll start and let you know how to make it. So these are the pieces of fabric you'll need to make the hair bow. You'll need one large section. This is for the big ribbon. This is 44 inches by 6 inches. You'll need a smaller section for the tie around the middle. That measures 4 inches by 2 inches. You'll need a piece of elastic if you want to make this into a hair bow. So this one is 1/2 inch elastic and it measures 6.5 inches. And then you need this piece of fabric, which is the channel that goes around the elastic to give it that nice ruche detail. And this is 12.5 inches by 2 inches. The first piece we're going to sew is for the actual ribbon. So what I've done is I've taken the large piece of fabric and I've folded it right sides together along the long edge, and I've put a few pins in it. On the two short edges I've cut them at a diagonal, and that just gives a lovely point when you turn it out. I've put pins in there as well. I've put 2 clips here and here, so basically when you sew it, you sew the short edge all the way along the long edge, and then you stop here at the clip, back stitch, and then you start again at the next clip. And what that means is that you've got that gap there to turn it out when you finish sewing it. So the seam allowance is 1/4 inch, so go ahead, take that to your sewing machine, sew along all those edges at 1/4 inch seam allowance, give it a nice press, and I'll meet you back here. This is my ribbon now that I've sewn, so I've turned it right sides out to that little gap that we left, and you can see here the nice points at either end, and then I've just slip stitched that little gap closed. You can of course machine stitch that closed because it's going to be at the centre of the bow, so you won't particularly notice it anyway. So I'll put this piece aside for the time being. The next piece to sew is the middle section. So again, I folded that right sides together along the long edge. I've put a few pins in it, and what you're going to do is sew along the long edge here at 1/4 inch seam allowance. This is our middle section sewn up now, and I've turned it right sides out and I've pressed the seam to the back. What you need to do now is that right sides together, you need to just sew along the short edges there at another 1/4 inch seam allowance. This is the middle section where the ends have been sewn together, and I've turned it right sides out and given it a little press. You can put this aside for the time being too. This is the elastic channel piece. So what I've done again is folded it right sides together along the long edge, put a few pins in it, and you can just sew along the long edge all the way along here at 1/4 inch seam allowance. This is the elastic channel that's been turned right side out and pressed with the seam to the back. What you need to now is feed your elastic into it, and I like to do that using a little safety pin. This is your elastic channel now that the elastic has been fed into it, and I've just secured it at both ends with a little pin. Now you're ready to start assembling the bow. So in your ribbon section, I've put a pin here in the middle, and one end you feed into your middle section or your little loop and pull it all the way through to the pin. You can take out the pin now. Then what you do is take one end and feed it into the back of the loop and pull it all the way through, all the time holding onto the middle section and the other part of the ribbon. And pull it all the way through. Give it a nice twist again. And then you take the other end and you feed it between these two sections, so in here. So take the end here and feed it into the middle. And then out the other side here and pull that. And then you've got your bow. So you can just tweak it to make it look nice, and when you've decided on the length, you can put a few hand stitches in the back to secure it. So I'm now happy with that. There's nothing twisted and both sides look fairly even. So what we're going to do now is feed in our elastic. So turn the bow over and feed in one part of the elastic in through the little middle section. Then when it comes out the other side, you're just going to bring this to your sewing machine and join these 2 pieces of elastic here together. I've now sewn the elastic together and removed the pins because they've done their job. What you can do now is hide the elastic join a little bit, and then just to finish it off, if you tuck one side in like this and then tuck the other side underneath it, you can just slip stitch here to give a nice finish. And then once that's done, you can tuck that all under the middle section to hide it, and you're pretty much done your bow. So to finish off, I've just tightened up the middle section ever so slightly and secured everything at the back with some hand stitching. But here is your finished bow.